Alright, hello again people of the internet. I'm back with another video. I know it's been a couple months. The only reason I haven't made a video in a couple months is because simply I had nothing to talk about. I haven't really bought any Godzilla figures recently, just because I'm trying to save my money a little bit. And then I just, no Godzilla stuff has come out until now. Before we get into that though, I'd like to thank everybody because we hit that 100 subscriber mark. So thank you for everyone who's subscribed. That means a lot to me. I can't believe I hit a channel with 100 subscribers. It's never happened to me before. So hopefully I'm doing something right. But not only have we hit 100 subscribers, we're 4 away from 200. I feel like that happened so fast. My last video seemed to do really well for some reason. I got 20,000 views on that, which, again, thank you, everybody. The unboxing of the Gigantic, that's that way. Well, you can't see it. But yeah, that meant a lot to me. So thank you, everyone who has subscribed and watched these videos. And we're going to get into this one. So what I want to talk about today is I saw Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire, and I like to just talk about it. Not going to go as in depth as I did with my -1 video. It's a Godzilla movie, and I want to talk about it, so that's what we're going to do today. My thoughts are going to be kind of jumbled here, so I apologize if it's kind of all over the place. But yeah, I just want to talk about the movie. Just really tell you what I thought about it in case my opinion matters to you, which it shouldn't. But yeah, I'm just going to talk about what I thought about it as a Godzilla fan compared to just, I guess, normal movie critics who seem to be pretty harsh on these movies. So let's get started. Alright, so I saw it 2 days ago. I've only seen it one time. I haven't seen it twice, and I'll talk about that a little more here soon. But I just kind of want to dive into the movie. I'm going to try to stick to like a pros and cons thing as I'm going. Again, it's going to be pretty jumbled. I don't know how well I'm going to go like chronological through the movie, like the storyline, but I'm going to try my best, but mostly this is going to be like a pros and cons thing. But first of all, overall opinion on the movie, as I did enjoy it. I do think it's worth watching. I was thoroughly entertained the whole time, and that's a good thing, because that's all I'm looking for in a kaiju movie, is to have some good action and to be entertained. So starting with the pros here, since we're talking about it, the action scenes of the kaiju, really well done. We'll get into some of it a little bit later, but there's really good emotion in some of the battles, and just the general, like, entertainment value from seeing kaijus fight was well done here. We kind of are thrown right into a couple battles in the beginning of the movie, which I always appreciate because I don't want to wait around for Godzilla forever, so I like that a lot. Yeah, we start with like Godzilla fighting a like spider kaiju. Can't remember the names of all of them now, but that does happen. The one thing I will say, as a Godzilla fan, primarily not really a Kong fan, this is a Kong movie. This really isn't a Godzilla movie. This is a Kong movie with Godzilla in it. So we don't get a lot of Godzilla in the movie as much as you might think. But speaking of the Kong thing here, is like his whole story is really well done, and like the emotion that we see come out of Kong is also super well done. It's hard to get emotion out of something that can't talk. So I always appreciate when we can see emotion through just watching it, not being told that we have to feel that emotion. And they do really well with that with Kong here. So a couple things that you see that from the most is also, fair warning, this is a spoiler video. If you don't want to be spoiled, do not watch this video. If you don't care about the spoilers, just keep watching. If you've already seen the movie, you can keep watching too. But if you don't want to be spoiled, I'm going to spoil things. Fair warning, I am spoiling stuff. So anyway, we get some good dynamic with Kong and the little Kong is what I'm going to call him, because I don't know if he had a name. So at first, yeah, they don't like each other, and there's actually a pretty funny scene here where Kong picks up the baby Kong and starts whipping the shit out of him with the other large apes there. And man, I was not expecting that at all. That made me laugh so hard in the theater because, yeah, he just beats the shit out of this monkey, and that was totally, or this ape, and I couldn't believe what I was watching. But that same little Kong, there's a really good developed story there because, yeah, they don't like each other, but it is actually worked out pretty well to how they end up liking each other, and essentially becomes Kong's adopted son, I guess. And that works really well because, yeah, we see some emotion come out of the two of them and how he changes and like what he does for him. And we see a lot of stuff that Kong does that makes you really like Kong. For example, when they find Scar King's group or tribe, there's a scene there where he like picks another ape up and like after he's getting like pushed down for working, and that like helps develop character a lot. And then another funny scene, he just punches the security guy like right in the face. That was pretty funny. But yeah, that scene in general where they first meet Scar King, super well done. There's no dialogue coming from Kong, obviously because he can't talk, but you know exactly what each individual one of them is feeling, and that's really hard to do. So that's a really, really strong part of this movie. It's not easy to show emotion, again, when you're not saying it, and you know exactly what Scar King's feeling, Kong's feeling, and Baby Kong. So that was really well done, and that's just kind of a thing I liked about the whole movie. You can just always tell what Kong's feeling, and that is always a positive, because we don't get that a lot with kaiju, and it's nice to see that there. And then, I guess going back to Godzilla and like how you see him in this movie, I did like how powerful he's getting, because he mostly just like one-shots all these kaiju, which I think is hilarious, because yeah, like he should be getting stronger now, and it is funny to see. So yeah, he mostly just one-shots a lot of these kaiju, and his fight scenes are pretty good for the most part. I'll talk about more like that kind of stuff when I get to the cons list, to some stuff in there that I do have to say. But generally, yeah, like the fight scenes with him are really good, especially at the end. I do like what they did with him in some parts, and then I also really like that pinkish purple thing, which some people are complaining about, which I don't really get, because, you know, we have Godzilla 2000, who was purple. And I guess maybe some people don't like that, but I have no problem with him being purple. I think it's kind of cool. And that comes from a fight scene with another kaiju that I'll also talk about in a little bit, that he defeats, and then he absorbs that energy. So that's where that comes from. Kind of a cool tidbit. And I do like how that makes him stronger. I think that's a pretty cool touch there. And just in general, I think Godzilla's fight scenes are pretty good. Another thing that was kind of well placed in some parts, it is funny in some scenes. So like example that Baby Kong fight, and then also one of the most like out of pocket things ever was where the vet gets introduced and he's like singing some song. Can't remember what it went like now, but man, that was so out of place, and it was funny. I don't know if I would have put it in there, but I guess it is what it is. We have it now. But yeah, that was interesting. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. And then also when they go down to Middle Earth, our human cast, they just kind of start tripping, I guess. And they're getting all absorbed and like they're freaking out. That was also pretty funny. I just had to talk about that because that was pretty Showa-esque. And speaking of Showa-esque, this is what this movie delivers. I think the director, I don't know this when I say this, I think he was going for more of a Showa-esque kind of thing here, because yeah, it's not like a realistic Godzilla film at all. This has every element of like a Showa story, and like as us Godzilla fans, you probably know more of what I'm talking about. But yeah, we have like a Middle Earth tribe. Showa did that all the time with like cockroach people and aliens. That is the most Showa thing ever. Showa completely evolved around tribes and aliens and stuff like that. So I think there was inspiration pulled from there. And generally just how the fight scenes are, again, Showa-esque. And speaking of that, there is a flying scene, which I don't really know how to feel about that, but the reason they're flying is because there's a Middle-earth anti-gravity thing. So they're kind of bouncing around the rocks. It's a neat idea. I don't know how much I need to see Godzilla flying, so that's why I'm a little confused on how to feel about it. But some people may really like that, and some people may hate it. As for me, I tend to prefer realistic sides of Godzilla. That's kind of why I prefer the first film. And then stuff like the Heisei, which is a little more realistic. Not always super realistic. And then like -1. I prefer that kind of stuff more, but some people love the Showa. I don't dislike Showa, but some people, that's like their favorite kind of Godzilla. If you like the Showa series, you're gonna love this film, even though it doesn't have a ton of Godzilla in it, but you're gonna love how the action scenes are and that kind of stuff, because it's super Showa. And speaking of like that flying scene, I guess, there is something I wasn't expecting. Again, this is a big spoiler, so don't watch if you don't want to hear this. Mothra's in it, so that was cool, and she doesn't die. That was also cool, because she always dies. But so yeah, I wasn't expecting that at all. It was a really good touch. She could have been used a little more, that's my only complaint, but it is really nice to see an old kaiju come back again, and that was something I liked a lot as well. Speaking of kaijus, we have a new kaiju that I also am not remembering the name of right now. I didn't really look into this movie at all, so a lot of this information is now just popping up into my head again. I can't remember. I'm going to look it up. Shimo. That's right. I remember what it was called now. I just looked it up. So yeah, Shimo was actually a cool looking kaiju. And then that kaiju was controlled by pain by Scar King, so that's why it's evil, I guess. But eventually Kong and Godzilla freed at the end. We'll talk about the end finale more. But a cool looking kaiju. Wouldn't mind getting the X Plus of that if it comes out. And a nice little story to make Scar King even more evil and to make the payoff for the end battle a little bit better. So yeah, the kaiju I didn't really look into the new kaiju, so I did like what I saw in the movie, and then yeah. So yeah, those are most of my positives, and again, there's a lot of them, just because, yeah, you get good fight scenes. If you like Showa, go see it, because you're going to love these fight scenes. The emotion from Kong, Mothra showing up, the new kaiju, and then the scene with Scar King and Kong, that was really well done. As far as things that I don't think were as strong, a lot of general viewers are going to say this, is the human characters aren't that good. Now, as being a kaiju fan, and I assume most of you watching are also kaiju fans, we don't really care about the human characters. That's not why we watch Godzilla films. We were treated with more of it from -1, and that's why we liked it so much. But that's not something... This is the best way to put it. A bad human story for kaiju fans is not going to ruin a kaiju movie for kaiju fans. It just doesn't matter. Yeah, they weren't that good in this movie. I don't think it's the strongest characters we've ever seen. But they're also not the worst. Some of the old kaiju films from Japan have some pretty questionable human characters sometimes. So we'll take what we can get here. As far as again, I can't remember characters' names like at all, so bear with me here. But the deaf girl from the tribe, I didn't know how to feel about her being like the Mothra Queen, I guess, almost the equivalent to Mothra Fairies. I don't think the idea is cheesy, but like some of the scenes, I don't know. I couldn't get behind it sometimes. It was a little too much. I'm not going to complain about it because it is so similar to the Mothra Fairies, which don't bother me. I don't think it was like the worst thing in the world, but like, I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes it just kind of made me feel like... It just made it feel like it was a little corny sometimes, if that makes sense. But again, it's hard to judge that because so are the Mothra Fairies in the original film. So I don't know how to feel about that either. But as far as the rest of the humans go, they're pretty forgettable. They really don't have a ton of screen time because Kong actually kind of dominates human parts, which I do like. I think that's a really good way to use kaiju as kind of moving the human emotion part. And that's something that isn't too common with kaiju films, so I did like that a lot. This is a complaint I have of the movie. We had a couple of off-screen fights, and that might sound a little confusing. But what happens is we're like about to see this crazy moment, and then it pans away for some reason, and then you see that this kaiju has now died. That's a little kind of a bummer because I can't remember the kaiju's name that Godzilla fights to get his like pink purple power stuff. It's ramped up to be like a super powerful kaiju, and like it's absorbing all this energy, and it seems like it's going to be somewhat of a big fight. And then it just ends in like 5 seconds, so cool, I guess. Another problem that I had sometimes was the way they moved. Now, Kong I didn't really have a problem with, but Godzilla sometimes moved too fast for me, and like, especially in the end thing, the end battle where he's flying because of the anti-gravity thing I was talking about earlier. Again, some people are going to love that. I don't know about that. They also seem to skin him down, or to skinny him down, I guess. They don't make him nearly as like big anymore, or like thick anymore. They don't really make him as like fat anymore. So I think that was chosen because of the way he moves. He moves like more lizard-like now. Again, I don't really know how to feel about it on first watch. I might have a different opinion on second watch. It can be kind of off sometimes. And again, me preferring the realistic thing, sometimes that movement stood out to me a lot. But generally, like with him running with Kong and going on his back, that didn't bother me as much as I thought it was going to. That scene was actually pretty cool where they start charging. So that was a pleasant surprise. That didn't nearly bother me as much as I thought it would. But yeah, like another con, sometimes the movement's kind of off, I guess, depending on what you want out of it. Because for some people, this movement might be totally fine, and that's okay. And then another problem I had too with the finale fight is it doesn't seem like the stakes were raised quite a lot. Because it's not really thoroughly explained what would happen if Scar King takes over the overworld. So yeah, it was kind of, the stakes weren't too high. Again, not that that really matters for a Godzilla film. It's just something people are going to point out, and it's something that can be pointed out. It's not ruining the movie for me because, again, at the end of the day, the action scenes in the finale were good, so it was entertaining. And that's really all I'm looking for out of a Godzilla film. But yeah, just something to point out that's kind of a con, not really a con, is that the stakes weren't too high. But it is nice to see Scar King just gets absolutely destroyed. He gets frozen and then smashed to pieces by Kong. Again, kind of something we've never seen like that before in a kaiju film, so pretty wild there. So yeah, that was a pretty good finale. And then at the end of that, Godzilla kind of bites Scar King's whip thing that has the little ice crystal that controls Shimo. And then Shimo gets freed, and Kong takes him as his new like horse thing because he rides him. That's why I'm saying that. But it's like kind of a symbolized. It's a symbol for him becoming the new king, and so he goes and frees all the slaves and the tribe, I guess is a better way to put it, for Scar King's tribe, and he goes and frees him while he's riding his new kaiju Shimo. So I like that end scene. It was a pretty good resolve there too. And other than that, that's kind of all I've got to say about it. Generally, the cons weren't very much. I only have like 5 written down here, and they don't really matter a whole lot. So at the end of the day, if you're a kaiju fan, you're a Godzilla fan, Kong fan, I think it's worth a watch. I'd personally see it again. It's got good action, good kaiju action, good emotion from Kong, and it's got some powerful Godzilla scenes. And that's really all I need out of a kaiju movie. But okay, yeah, those are my thoughts on the movie. Go see it if you haven't. I do think it's worth a watch for kaiju films here. Kaiju fans, I think, are going to love this movie, and I think it's worth a watch. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. I hope this made sense to you. If you enjoyed watching this, please hit that subscribe button if you haven't. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys next time.